I think this farce has gone on for long enough. Don't bother coming back to the house anymore. There's no place for you here. Oh, and don't worry about your stuff. We did you the favor of putting it all out on the curb for you. Jessica's just as happy as I am that we're finally kicking you out, by the way. She said she got tired of having to smell your old lady perfume every time you walked by.
What? Hold on, what are you saying, Joseph? This is the first time you've texted me since... Good grief, you've never texted me since I got this new phone a few years ago. You don't even talk to me at home except to complain about something. And now out of the blue, you're telling me that you threw away all of my things? What's going on?
Are you really so senile that you still don't get it? We cleared out your room. It's ours now. I don't see why you would have any problem with that. It's not like you had anything important in there. You're not welcome in this house anymore, so never darken our doorstep again. If you even set so much as one toe on my property, I'll have you arrested for trespassing.
Joseph, what's gotten into you? Why are you all of a sudden kicking me out of the house?
Don't fool yourself. You know this isn't sudden at all. Like, don't tell me you didn't notice the fact that neither me or Jessica have said more than a few words to you in the last 20 years. I'm surprised you lasted this long, to be honest. I expected you to run away from home crying like a little girl years ago. But it seems like you just won't take the hint, so we decided that we had to step things up a notch. Seriously, do we need to put up a neon sign on the front lawn saying no old women allowed?
Trust me, I was most certainly aware that you and Jessica were doing your best to pretend I was invisible. But in spite of that, we all sat down at the table to eat dinner every night. We were still together, so we were still a family.
Oh my God, Leanne! I was joking when I called you senile earlier, but I think you might actually be going into early onset dementia. I guess that would explain a lot of things, come to think of it. Like, the only way you'd be able to put up with the way we were treating you is if you forgot about it all a few minutes later.
I was always under the impression that we might not put it into words very often, but that we were still getting along fine. There are a lot of different ways to show love, and since you hadn't told me otherwise, I thought you still loved me. I guess I was the only person who felt that way, though. Was I wrong to think that way, Joseph?
Of course you were! I can't believe this! You actually thought I loved you all these years? I mean, it's been a bit easier for the last few years since you've been spending most of your time at work. Having even a few hours each day when I can relax at home without you around is seriously refreshing. But then at the end of the day, you always have to ruin everything by coming home. I'm tired of having my pleasant evenings interrupted by your obnoxious presence. So don't ever come home again.
I see. So that's the way you've really felt about me?
Yeah, duh. You really didn't notice? It took 20 years of treating you like the plague for you to realize that?
Regardless of how you've been treating me, I always felt like you needed me around. And for my part, I never felt like living with you was unpleasant or burdensome, so I was fine with it. But now I see that the two of you were not.
Well, I'm glad you were able to learn something today. We're tired of putting up with you, and it ends tonight. Every single thing of yours in this house is now out on the curb. If you want to save it, I suggest you pick it up before the garbage trucks get here.
All right then, Joseph. If that's what you want, I'll leave. I don't feel much like being with someone who treats and talks about me so terribly. I wanted to avoid this if possible, but there's no way around it now. We're getting divorced.
Divorce? Don't make me laugh. You're not gonna divorce me. Get real. What's gonna happen to you without me, huh? You think there are any guys out there willing to marry you other than me?
Honestly, no, I don't imagine there are. But what of it? You've thrown away all my things and forbade me from entering the house again. Are you saying that I'm not welcome in your house or your life, but that I have to stay married to you in spite of that? You think I'm afraid of being single? Because I'm not.
I know you're afraid of being single.
Well, I'm about to prove you wrong. You remember that time several years ago when you left a signed stack of divorce papers on my desk? I still have them, and now that I know your true intentions, I'm going to sign them too.
Don't you mean had them? I threw away all your stuff. Right now, those papers are in the middle of a massive pile of your things out next to the road. You'll never find them.
Quite the contrary, those divorce papers are safe and sound in my office. I never expected you would do something so insane as throw my belongings outside without my permission. But I kept things that were most important to me out of your reach, just in case.
Are you serious? You kept them in your office at work? I thought you said you were fine with staying married to me. If that's true, why did you keep them?
I considered them to be my insurance policy. I may be nothing but a dense, senile old woman to you, but I have enough sense in this thick skull of mine to know that I should always have a plan B. And it looks like I was right to do so. Now that I don't need your signature, I can divorce you whenever I please.
I may not be much of a poker player, but I know a bluff when I see one. And you are bluffing big time. There's no way you're actually gonna divorce me. You lucked out big time when you were able to lock down a guy like me as your husband. You know that and I know that. So I know that there's no way you would do anything as self-destructive as walking away from the only man who would ever give you the time of day. The best thing for you to do right now is just walk away quietly. Really, that's all I want you to do. Just get out of my life. Oh, but before you do that, come and do something about the pile of your trash in my front yard. It's a bit of an eyesore.
You really think you're better than me, don't you, Joseph?
I don't think I'm better than you. I know that you're a lousy, good-for-nothing old woman who can't live without me.
And you, Joseph, what would you do without me?
Let's think about that for a second, shall we? All you do every day is get up, go to work, come home, do the housework, eat, sleep, rinse, and repeat. So what exactly about my life is going to change with you out of the picture? Absolutely nothing, that's what. I don't need you for anything. Go ahead, live wherever you want, do whatever you want, just don't ever come back around here again.
As you wish. I'm sorry things turned out like this between us. Goodbye. Hi there, Melanie. I'm sorry to message you out of the blue like this, but there's something I need to tell you. Do you have a moment to talk? Leanne! Oh, it's so nice to hear from you. Oh, yes, I've got time. I'm currently at the hospital visiting my husband. He's been doing much better lately, so I've been coming to visit more often and staying longer. By the way, if you ever got a moment, would you mind terribly coming by to see him? He says he would love to get the chance to chat with you again. Well, it's wonderful to hear that he's feeling better. Sure, I'd love to come and see him. Once things have calmed down for me a bit, I'll come visit as soon as I can. Thank you so much, dear. Do let me know when you're coming, will you? I'd like to see you as well. Oh, but I'm sorry, you had something to tell me, didn't you? What is it, dear? Go right ahead. The truth is that your son and I just got divorced yesterday. What? You did? Oh no, what did that fool son of mine do to you this time? It's kind of a long story. It was a bit of a slow build-up, and then everything happened all at once. I've put up with a lot in the past, but after this, I don't think it's going to work out between me and Joseph. You poor thing! I can't imagine how hard that must have been for you. I'm here for you, Leanne. Go ahead and tell me everything that happened. Thanks, Melanie. You and your husband have done so much to help me out over the years. just for things to end up in such an unfortunate way. I'm so sorry that I couldn't do anything to prevent this from happening. Oh no, don't tell me that you've been putting up with them all this time for our sakes. Well, kinda. But I really do feel like I owe a huge debt of gratitude to you and your husband. And it's not really that I was putting up with them for you. It's just that once I divorced Joseph, then I would lose my connection to you. Oh, Leanne, you don't need to worry about that. You've got it all entirely backwards. We're incredibly grateful to you, too. You did us the favor of taking that selfish, pompous son of ours off our hands. I don't know if that boy would have ever gotten married if not for you. All that we wanted was for the two of you to be happy with one another. But if you're saying that you need to divorce him, then there must be some very good reason behind it. We should have been more active in asking you how things were going. We always knew how afraid you were of causing trouble for us. I'm sorry we didn't notice how bad things were until now. No, please don't feel bad. It's my fault entirely. I just couldn't let go of my foolish pride. I thought that divorcing him would mean I was giving up. But after what happened yesterday, I came to realize that sometimes walking away is the best thing for everyone. That's why I wanted to get the chance to say my goodbyes to you and your husband. Oh, goodness gracious, Leanne, don't talk like that. We don't need to say goodbye. But I'm just your daughter-in-law. To us, you're more than that. We consider you every bit our daughter. You're a part of our lives and our family no matter what happens between you and Joseph. Even if you divorce him, my husband and I will always think of you as our daughter. You really feel that strongly about me? How could we not? We're the ones who are in your debt. If you think you owe it to us to stay with Joseph, then you're dearly mistaken. Your life is your own, Leanne, and you shouldn't let anyone take it away from you. Go ahead and live your life the way that you think is best. And if there's ever anything that we can do to help you, never hesitate to let us know. Thank you so much, Melanie. How many times do I have to tell you, dear, you can call me Mom? Thanks, Mom. That's more like it. What happens between you and Joseph is entirely your business, and we won't try to pressure you in any direction. If you want to talk, though, I'll always be here to listen. You know, I might just take you up on that. I think there are a lot of things we should talk about. If it's all right with you, could I head over to see you right now?
What did you do, Leanne? I just got a letter in the mail. It says it's from your lawyer and that we have until the end of the month to move out of the house. You sold my house? You had no right to do that.
Actually, Joseph, I have every legal and moral right to do so. We are divorced, aren't we? And that house was never your house. I'm the one who bought it. It's mine. You didn't really think that I was going to let you keep living there free of charge after we divorced, did you? If you did, then wow, I have a feeling you might be the one going into early onset dementia.
Wait a second. You're joking, right? You actually divorced me?
I don't have the slightest clue why you would be shocked about that. I mean, did you actually think I wasn't going to? You and our daughter have been intentionally ignoring me for the last 20 years. And just a few days ago, you threw all of my stuff out onto the curb, kicked me out of the house, and told me never to come around there again. Did you think I was just going to let all that slide and stay married to you?
But, think about it. What are you going to do if you become single again at your age? There's no way any other guy is going to be willing to marry you. You're used goods.
Yeah, I know, and? There's more to life than being married, you know. Sure, most of the people in our circle of friends are married. All of them seem to be pretty happy with the path they took in life, too. But there are also plenty of single people we know who are getting just as much out of life. Some of those single people are divorced, too, and that doesn't seem to be having too much of an impact on how much they're enjoying life. So I think that even in the somewhat likely event I don't get remarried after you, it's not the end of the world. At the very least, I can say that being single for the rest of my life would be far better than spending the rest of it with a complete loser.
Complete loser? You're not talking about me, are you?
Is that a serious question? Who else would I be referring to? You seem to have been under the impression that you had the upper hand in our relationship. But the truth is that I was the one who was holding back on divorcing you. In ordinary circumstances, I would have kicked you to the curb years ago. And hindsight is 20/20, but knowing what I do now, I probably should have.
Excuse me? I'm the one who settled for marrying an older woman like you. I gave you the trophy husband that you always wanted.
Seriously, Joseph? Trophy husband? Get a grip. If you were any kind of trophy, you'd be a participation trophy.
Hey! Is that the thanks I get for allowing you to live with me for all these years?
Oh, it was a great privilege indeed, Joseph. Thank you so much for allowing me to pay all of our bills by myself. Oh, and it was especially kind of you to allow me to pay for our daughter's college education, too. You're totally right. It was wonderful having a trophy husband who has practically no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I mean, I guess you're slightly above average in looks, but other than that, there's nothing special about you at all. In any case, I am walking away from my old life and having a great time as I embark on a brand new journey.
I don't believe it! You're actually serious? Where did this attitude of yours come from anyway? You've never talked to me like this before. If that's how you really feel, then explain why you stayed with me for this long.
Why did I stay? Well, there are a few reasons. The first would be that I simply wanted to believe that there was love between the two of us.
What? Oh my God! You really are going senile, aren't you? I've barely spoken to you in the last 20 years. What would give you the impression that a man who won't even speak to you actually loves you?
You're right, we haven't had as many conversations lately as we used to. But that wasn't really a problem for me in particular. I was renting my own office space outside of the house to work in, so that actually worked to my benefit. I could give my all at the office during the day, then come home to peace and quiet at night. All I needed to do was keep the house somewhat clean and everything was golden. And you guys hardly ever complained about anything either, so I figured things were going well. Whether that's because you didn't want to talk to me or you simply didn't have much to complain about, I can't be sure though. But speaking of which, I don't think I've ever seen either of you so much as wash a single plate in all the time we've been together. How is the house looking right about now? I hope you haven't made too big of a mess.
Well, that's none of your concern. You don't live here anymore anyway.
Maybe not, but it's still my house.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but I never expected that you'd really follow through on your threat to divorce me.
You seriously underestimated me. While you were ignoring me for 20 years, I wasn't just sulking in sorrow. I was working, cooking, cleaning, living my life like normal, mostly by myself. Now think, in all that time, did I ever ask you for help with anything?
Hold on a sec, let me try to remember.
Don't bother, because I never asked you for help. Meanwhile, you were completely reliant on me for just about every aspect of our lives. That means that me leaving is going to have a far bigger impact on you than it will on me.
That's not true. But even if it were true, that still wouldn't justify you taking my house away from me.
Maybe not, but you kicking me out certainly did. I have no reason to continue owning a house that I'm unable to live in. You did this to yourself.
I don't see it that way. But where do you get off divorcing me just because you found out I didn't love you anymore? You had no problems with putting on a happy face and dealing with it up until now. What gives?
I could ask you the same question. You pretended to love me until you didn't feel like it anymore. By the time I caught on, you had already wasted away my youthful years. That cost me any chance I may have had of getting remarried to someone who actually cared about me.
Hey, it's not my fault that you were lost in some fantasy about me wanting to be all lovey-dovey with you. What about the time you got sick, huh? I didn't divorce you then, even though I could have. While you were in and out of the hospital for days and weeks at a time, I was taking care of Jessica all by myself. You owe me for that.
Jessica was 13 when I got sick. She was more than capable of taking care of herself. And you barely did anything for her during that time. You were always going out to eat by yourself and leaving Jessica to fend for herself. Your mom was the one who ended up doing most of the cooking and cleaning for you. So if there's anyone I owe a debt of gratitude to, it's your mother, not you.
Okay, well, you would never have met my mother if you hadn't married me. Ha! You see, all the best things in your life are thanks to me. So it's like I said after all, you have no right to kick us out of the house.
You want to talk about the time I was sick? Okay. While I was in the hospital, did you or Jessica ever once come to visit me? No, you didn't. Your mother and father, however, were regularly stopping by to keep me company. By the way, I also know what you did to Jessica. You told her that I was the one who was causing all the problems for our family. Thanks to you, she thinks that you're some sort of superhero while I'm just a worthless parasite. But you did what you had to do, I guess. If you didn't paint me out to be the bad guy, she would have noticed what a jerk you were.
All I told her was the truth. If we didn't have to pay for your medical bills, we'd be able to have a way better lifestyle than we do now.
Right you are, Joseph. Do you know what would also enable us to have a much better lifestyle? If you would actually hold down a job for more than a week at a time.
What are you talking about? I've been going to work every day of the week for our whole marriage.
I thought we had already covered the fact that I'm not an idiot. I know that you haven't actually been going to work.
You're lying. You got no proof of that.
Okay, what about the fact that I handle all the family's finances and can see exactly when your paychecks were deposited into our account? Sometimes you would go for entire months at a time without receiving a single paycheck, all while you were still going to work every day. Would you mind explaining that?
I was getting paid under the table. That way we can avoid having to pay income taxes. You're lucky you have such a streetwise man around the house.
Oh, I see. Then what did you do with the money?
What do you mean? I used it for, family stuff.
For example?
What, am I supposed to remember every single thing I ever spent my money on?
Just one example would be nice. But I know for a fact you haven't been paying any of our bills. Utilities, property taxes, groceries, internet, cell phones, the mortgage. I've made every single payment out of my own paycheck. So, Mr. Reliable Family Man, where have you been spending the money you've earned?
I don't have to answer anything you ask me. What I do with my money is my business.
You're right, sort of. It doesn't really matter anymore. I already know what you've been spending it on. Anyway, it's a fact that you haven't contributed at all to the family's bottom line, or even done any housework to speak of. Meanwhile, I've been doing both, while also giving you two all of the love that a mother and wife should. I can honestly say that the only reason I was able to make it this long was because of the support your parents gave me. I lost my parents back when I was in college, so I had missed out on that sort of parent-child relationship until I married you. It didn't matter to me that we weren't related by blood. All that mattered was that they loved me unconditionally for who I was, and that meant the world to me. Which brings me to the second and most important reason I didn't divorce you sooner. I didn't want to lose my relationship with your parents.
Is that right? Well, sucks for you. Now that we're divorced, you're never gonna have a relationship with them again. Looks like I need to work my persuasive magic on them just like I did with Jessica. I'll tell them that you were the one who abandoned me. I might even throw in that you were cheating on me. They'll hate you for sure.
Don't waste your time. I already explained the situation to them myself.
You did?
That's right. I told them exactly why I divorced you, including you kicking me out of the house as well as ignoring me for the last 20 years. Your parents are very sensible people, unlike you, so they could tell that you were the one in the wrong. And guess what else? Your mother told me personally that she will always think of me as her daughter, no matter what happens between us. On the other hand, they are furious with you.
What? But why?
Remember a little bit ago when I said I knew what you were spending all your money on? I misspoke. It's not what, but who.
Wait, you mean...
Yes, Joseph, I know about Selena. She is old enough to be your daughter, you creepy old geezer. And the reason you kicked me out of the house was so you could make room for her to move in. I've known about her for quite some time, but I held my tongue for the same 2 reasons I gave you earlier. But I don't need to hold my tongue anymore. Your parents have given me their blessing to do with you what I will.
Hey, let's back up 1 second. Selena? I have no idea who that is.
Don't bother playing dumb. I have all the evidence I need, all locked up in my office where you can't touch it.
Okay, can we talk about this?
Sorry, Joseph, but I'm not interested in anything you have to say. Now that I know my relationship with your parents is safe, I'm done with you. I'll see you in court. After that, Joseph kept begging me for a chance to come and apologize to me. He knew that if I found out he was spending my money on his mistress, I could sue him to get it back. But I didn't need or want an apology from him. All I want is that he gives me what's rightfully mine. It turns out that Joseph never visited his dad once while he was in the hospital, just like he did with me. That, combined with the revelation of his emotional abuse and infidelity, led his parents to a quite radical conclusion. They wrote Joseph out of their will. This was quite the blow to Joseph, as he had been counting on receiving a sizable inheritance from them. So what will they do with their fortune? I assumed they would donate it to charity, but they decided to leave it to me instead. I felt guilty accepting that, but they were insistent. So now, even after Joseph and I divorced, I still visit them regularly. When I'm with them, it feels like the wounds from the loss of my birth parents are starting to heal. I hope to spend as much time with them as possible to repay them for the kindness they've shown to me.